and gentlemen, welcome back to the Life 101 featuring me, your host, Scotty Stuch from Sober Sit Down, and my co-host, Larry Mazza. Tonight with us, we're going to be having a guest join us, Sal Francisoa. There he is.
Hey, here he is.
Sally.
Got it. Hey, I'm. Nothing's ever easy for me. Nothing ever.
All right, but you got to
let's get into it before we kick out again.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Sal Francisoa. Sal has been in the movie business for quite some time. Grew up in the Bronx around the same time as Larry. Larry grew up in Brooklyn. We're going to talk about growing up back then, what it was like. A little earlier than my era, but I'd still like to hear their stories. So, Sal, let's jump right into the Bronx back when you were a kid. You told me when we talked 2 months ago when we got acquainted with one another, it was like a scene from the Bronx Tale. Tell me exactly what you were telling me about.
When I watched that movie, I swear to God, I get spooked because that's exactly how I grew up. I'm telling you, like right to the T, parking the mob guys' cars because my father was friends with Geno from Allenton Avenue, Geno's Cafe. That's what, that was in the movie too with Chaz Palminteri. That was my father's best friend.
Wow.
And so they had in Boston Post Lumber, they had the little clubhouse over there, and it was a bar and club. They used to play cards. They did everything in there. Everybody went there from the neighborhood, from all over. And my father knew everybody because he was a contractor, and he was in the Bronx from when it was farms. His family, they go back there, so they knew everybody.
Sal, was there social clubs on every block like in Brooklyn?
Every block.
Yeah. Every major avenue, every major highway, there was social clubs, different families, different groups.
Listen, I used to go away for a weekend to Atlantic City. The guys would be sitting in front of the club, right? I'd come back, and the same guys would be in the same chairs sitting in front of the same club. The same guys. Like they never moved.
Yeah, if it was summertime, they got a little darker.
Yeah.
Was it like that in Brooklyn? You said I was in Brooklyn?
Oh, yeah. We actually had a spot in front of our club where Greg would bring out a chair, Greg Stuch. Then, usually me, because I was there first with him, I would bring a chair out and sit next to him. By the time the afternoon was about halfway through, there was a horseshoe of chairs out in the street. And everybody's sitting up looking at the sun, so we were getting our color, flirting with the girls. If somebody came to give us money, we'd go inside, take care of business, come back out. And the local cops didn't care that much. They didn't drive by and give us the snarl. But you could see when the feds drove by, they didn't like it. They hated that we were flaunting it like that. And we probably should have been doing that. If we were smarter, we wouldn't have. But don't forget, my boss was with them a little bit, so, he didn't care.
Like Polly Walnuts with the foil thing outside Satriali's.
Yep.
So, Sal, so you were originally a contractor like your father, and then do you want to explain how you got into acting?
Yeah, that's simple. My friends went into the music business. My friend Frankie, he wound up running KTU. He created all those formats. He got on Z100, Hot 97, and then KTU.
Disco
and my
92.
other friend, Pat Riscona, his father was a boxer. You remember Patty Riscona? Patty Riscone? Well, his son is big in Sony as of right now. He's still there. He's been there for 40 years already. But I had Patty in Sony and Frankie in KTU, and I just wanted to get the hell out of the construction business. I started when I was 14 years old, So I wanted to do what they were doing, because I love that kind of stuff. We all grew up together. So I was like, I want to be in there too. So how can I get in with you guys? How can we do something to make money together, Frankie? Let's figure something out. So anyway, I wound up meeting somebody that had a TV show in Manhattan, and he had the camera. He was from what do you call it? He's from Staten Island, Phil, from New York Rocks, his name is. So I met him, and then I started playing around with him with the camera, and then next thing you know, we had a TV show in Manhattan. So I was going out and finding all these young rappers and all these young musicians and kids and putting them on the TV shows. And then I just it's the story's crazy because the guy I was partners that I met, Carmine, he was friends with Vinny Vella, and Carmine was friends with Uncle Sonny. Everybody knows Sonny and Francis, He did time with him. Came out, I met Carmine. I met all the people that I was going to be in the movie business with at Nelly's restaurant in Manhattan. My friend's father was an actor there to go show this guy and see if he could get him to do the movie with it. So I had to pour concrete the next day. I had 30 yards of concrete to pour, and I didn't want to go. He says, get in the car if I kick your ass. You're coming with me. So I said, oh, God, all right. So I went with him, and that day changed my whole life because when I went to Brunelli's, I met everybody that was in that restaurant. After 12 o'clock, they moved the tables aside, and it turned into a party place. That's how it all started. That day changed everything for me, and that's what got me into the whole business, everything.
Well, you know what?
With the music,
it's a great
and we
break.
just went with it.
It's a great break, Sal, because you wound up finding a niche. You did very well. You met some fantastic actors like Armando Sante, who's a dear friend of mine, and you got out of the life. It got you out of the life. You would have been in it, and your whole life would have been different.
Right, it got me out. Right, because I was, back in the day when me and my brother we were kids, we were dealers. I was working. I always worked construction, but my brother started selling weed, and I was busting my ass all day laying brick. And I come home and he would have stacks of hundreds like this, and I'm like, where'd you get that from? And I'm like, how did you do that? He wouldn't tell me. They were keeping it from me because I didn't smoke weed at the time. Right. I didn't burn. So I was like, where are you getting all this money? And then one day he lifted up the ceiling, right? He lifted the acoustic ceiling. He pushed it up, right? And he moved to the side and he pulled down a dish with weed. And I said, what is that? I got mad at him. We almost had a fist fight. What is this? He said, that's pot. I said, you smoking pot? I went crazy. Meanwhile, then we wound up becoming the biggest pot dealers in the Bronx. Yeah. Because I got in with him. You know what I mean? I couldn't resist.
Yeah, you think it's the easy way out. It's not the easy way. We learned that the hard way.
The money, when you see that money, I'm over here breaking my ass like bricks. I was a kid. I was 17, 18 years old,
Mixing cement.
And he was younger than me. Right. But, one thing led to another. Just like when I read your book, it's like I understand exactly how you got in, because it could have been me the same way. I knew everybody. I knew everybody in the Bronx. All their kids, their sons were my friends. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we all went to school together, Arthur Avenue. My mother's friend, Rudy, was the boss of Arthur Avenue, right? That was my mother's from childhood, from Morris Avenue, because my mother was from Morris Avenue, from Harlem. So it was my family was from Harlem before they went to the Bronx. Right. So we knew everybody, and Danny Squire, his son was my friend. I knew his wife. You know what I mean? I worked in the beauty salon. My first job was in the beauty salon. I was like 11 years old. I walked. I says, I want a job. He says, doing what? I said, anything. He says, okay. And he made me sweep the floor and fill up the things where they put the combs and shit.
Right. Well,
so I was a hustler.
I got to say,
I hustled.
Yeah. No, but the funny thing for me was I was in school. So I wasn't doing any of those hard jobs like construction stuff. I had jobs, but just side jobs to continue my schooling. And I didn't learn anything about digging holes or cement until I met Greg Scarpa. Then I was digging graves, making cement covers so they can't find bodies. And it just becomes part of life. It's crazy. So you know what? The thing is, most people, and we say it all the time, most people that get in that life end the bad way. And, I've got mostly horror stories and sad stories of everybody I know. For fun times, and it's not worth it. You know, I know you've had your ups and downs. You've had some tough situations to deal with. Tell us about some of the bad things.
Well, my brother got murdered and he died. My brother, the house that they shot the Raging Bull in on Pelham Parkway.
Right.
My brother got murdered there with Carmine. Carmine's father had a restaurant on Arthur Avenue. We were from 89 Park, and that's across the Parkway. You know, Arthur Avenue is over there, and we're over here. But we knew everybody over there because we all went to school together, Columbus High School. Right? We all grew up together, going to the clubs and everything. Everybody knew each other. But everybody was into something. Everybody was into something, and we were into our shit too. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we weren't bad kids. We didn't do anything bad. We were just hustling, making money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was 9 of us at the park. We were making $1,000 a night apiece, not even trying.
Wow.
You know, we had Joe Malone had his club on over here at the corner, and then all of a sudden this guy comes from Vegas. His name is I'm gonna throw his name, but this guy came from Vegas and he wound up taking over this empty store. And they look like wise guys. And meanwhile, they're hanging around over there and they're looking at us and we're looking at them. We're like, who are these guys? Who are these guys coming into our neighborhood? You know, we were going to go to Joe. Joe, who are these guys? You know, we didn't know them at first. But then we started talking to them. They were just hanging around. And then next thing you know, we made friends with them. They were saying, what are you guys doing over here? You're making a ton of money in this park. Yeah, we ran it. We had tons. It was a supermarket. I mean, it was a supermarket. Anything you wanted, we had. Right? And they were watching us and they were like, wow. So then we started playing dice on the curb with them. They got us into playing dice because Mada's father, he was involved with numbers, you know what I mean? So he would say he got with them. I mean, just one thing led to another, man. I got so many friggin' stories. I don't even know where to begin, man. You know? But anyway, so we were doing our thing, and that's how I met everybody that came in that club. And that wound up being a big deal over there. I mean, I could tell you stories of shit that happened in that club that you would not believe. A guy came with a $500,000 suitcase one day, you know, and he looked like that guy Jimmy from Casino, you know, real sharp. And everybody shit in their pants when he came through the door. And Al had to pick up the phone and make a phone call and cover his, you know, see if they were going to cover him. He said, what are you trying to take my club? You know, so it's like,
oh my God.
You know, I got to write a book one day, man. I mean, I got so many stories.
I mean, having your brother killed, that's what I'm saying. The worst part. How do you rebound, you know?
Well, that's the whole, you see, what happened was now Carmine wasn't from our neighborhood. He was from Arthur Avenue. And we used to fight with these guys. After a while, they ripped us off, and then we had problems with them in the clubs, and they thought they were wise guys. You know, they were ripping off their own families, and, you know, they wound up getting in trouble over there, and then they came try to fuck with us because they knew we were making the money, you know. We were doing business with them, and then they turned on us, you know what I mean? So
right.
Carmine was from Arthur Avenue, and we were from 89. So my other friends didn't like Carmine because he was from over there, but we took him under our wing because he wasn't like them. He had nothing to do with them. His father had the restaurant. He looked just like Rob Stewart. He was outgoing. He was funny, and we made friends with him. But anyway, they set him up to be ripped off, and my brother walked in on it right after. It was January 8th, 1981. We were supposed to get together for New Year's, but Carmine was in Florida here, and he had a car that at the time we were buying the cars wrecked, fixing them up. Mm-hmm. They were doing it. They bought the cars wrecked, fix them up, and do the insurance job on and get the money. You know what I mean? That was common back then. It started, you know, that all that shit went on. They got into that. I didn't, but anyway. This kid knew that Carmine had the money in his house, so he set him up to be ripped off, and they got him, and then my brother walked in on it, and he got shot too, and then,
wow.
Yeah, it's a crazy story, and then I wound up I was at the bar around the corner. His roommate comes in and he says, "Where's your brother?" I says, "I don't know. He's probably at Carmine's. We're all going out tonight. We're going to the Mud Club." So he went over there with his girlfriend. Came in with his girlfriend as a topless dancer. So he went over there with her. He came back screaming and crying to the bar. And I'm like, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" He says, Rio, Carmine." So we jumped in my car, me and two of my friends,
Right.
And we flew over there. And then my brother was on the 3 steps going down to the back. I didn't even know it was him. I jumped right over him and ran inside. And Carmine was chopped up, shot here, shot in the chest. But they held him up on the wall, stuck the knife in his side. They took the money. And then I said, "Who's that out there?" And they said, and they was crying. They were looking at me, shaking their head. And I said, "Who is that?" And then they said, "Rio." And I went, "What?" I fucking ran out there and I grabbed my brother and I pulled him inside. And Carmine had one of those beanbag pillows. I went to lay him down. My finger went in the back of his head. He had a hole in the back of his head, but he was still alive. Yeah. So I told him, my grandmother was like a saint to us. So the only thing I could think of is, she died. I said, "Pray to grandma." And then he squeezed my hand. Me and my friend Sabbath, he had the other hand. And that's how he died in my arms. And Carmine, I picked him out. When I went to him, he was dead. He already excreted. So it was a fucked up thing. But look, part of growing up, man, it's my history. You can't change it, and that's what we did.
Right. You can only learn from it. And hope other people take from it, and maybe younger guys will understand it's not the glorified life TV show.
Yeah,
and
that's the whole thing.
Of this show with Scotty is to get that out there. So that's a devastating story, and very well told too. But sad.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, but I'm one of 9. I'm the second oldest in 9. I mean, it destroyed my mother. My mother's still alive. She's 9. She's going to be 90 years old in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But that destroyed my whole family. My brother Rio was very, very popular. He was a great looking kid, man. He was and so Carmine would look like Rod Stewart. We used to go out and they used to think he was Rod Stewart. We never paid for anything. We used to play it off.
Yeah.
He was a character, man. We loved him. That's what we took to him. Come on, you're with us, man. We bringing him in, and they took him out. You know what I mean? It was stupid because they didn't like him. He was from there.
There's less law and order in that life than there is in that life. There's no ethics. There's no rules. We were supposed to have rules, but they were but definitely the drugs was a different thing. So that's sad. Well, you hit it on the head. You hit the nail on the head. What do you think, Scott? That's a devastating story.
It's just like we said, the life does not pay off. I mean, it's quick results, but they're not permanent results. I mean, something tragic like that can happen when you're playing in the streets, or you can get locked up for the rest of your life and go to jail. So it was two-way loss. Somebody lost their life, but I'm sure somebody went to jail for the rest of their life too over it. So 2 people lost in that battle, and
Sal's families,
and
both of those families will never be the same.
Yeah, Carmine
victimized by it.
Yeah, Carmine's mother. You wouldn't believe when I sent him up because they were upstairs. They were upstairs. They were listening. They were up there. They heard the shots, but they thought it was the boiler. They thought it was the pipes banging. Wow. And when she came down, she cleaned off the knife. She was cleaning the pump. The cops came in. After the cops came, they grabbed Carmine and took him out. I said, "What about my brother? He's dead already. My brother's alive." And they said, "The ambulance is coming." So I said, "Fuck you." And I grabbed him and I put him in my car and I flew to Jacoby Hospital right across the road.
Right.
I got there before the ambulance took Carmine. I went across the road. I didn't go around. I went right across, right into the emergency room. I bounced across Pelham Parkway with my brother in the car, and I was carrying him in my arms, kicking the door open while they already had the gurney coming out, waiting for the ambulance, and I was there first with my brother slipping out of my arms. About 10 minutes later, my whole family was there in the room. And they were operating on my brother, trying to save him, but they couldn't. He died.
Wow.
It was crazy, man. My whole family was in this room. I mean, 100 people asking me, what happened? What happened? Who, what? Why? Everybody's screaming and crying. They don't, people don't realize, look, we were innocent. Like, we grew up, but we didn't mean any harm. We didn't really try to do any shit like that. But, when you're growing up and you're in the neighborhood and everything's going on, you just fall into it,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unless your family had a lot of money. And even if some kids did have a lot of money, yet they couldn't wait to come do some shit with us. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah.
It doesn't really matter. It's what you had in here, what you wanted to do. You know what I mean? It's all a matter.
Yeah. A lot of peer pressure too. There's peer pressure. That's another thing.
Peer pressure.
Like the younger generation, like, there's nothing better than, being a gentleman, showing up in a suit, getting out of a Cadillac and having the nice girl on your arm. But you can get that with education. You get a nice education, you can dress nice, you got money, you got security, and you don't got to look over your shoulder every night. The goal was when everybody was young, Larry, when you were a young man, Sal, when you were a young man, the goal was to make money. Nobody envisioned at one point there was going to be deaths or murder or anything involved. Right. I mean, you knew it comes with it, but you never think it's so the goal was to make money, not to hurt people, but it just kind of came with it.
It does, exactly. And the deeper you get in, the more apt you are to get involved in it.
My brother wasn't the only casualty in the neighborhood, him and Carmine. They were just one out of a bunch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that wasn't the first incident that I had to live through, that wasn't the first. A lot of shit happened, but you don't think that it would come home, you know what I mean? And it did.
Yeah, same thing in Brooklyn. You hear about it all the time, or you saw it all the time. People getting killed. I had a friend of mine that was.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah.
I was going to say he was dating some girl, and the girl was obviously dating another guy who was connected, and the kid got killed right on Neck Road. They shot him while he was taking his son over a girl, And then some of the brothers decided to get revenge, and they opened up their mouth and they said they're going to come back and get him. They killed the brother at the funeral that threatened to get revenge. So it was a cowboy, time in Brooklyn and the Bronx. There were, it was
really?
West.
Yeah, we were cowboys. You hit it right on the head. That's the right word, man. We were cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yeah.
I had all the opportunity to get made. I did. I was like, my friends, cousins, guys were in. I could have got in real easy. I was already almost there. We were there, but we just weren't with. We were our own crew. You know what I mean? We did our own thing, but we knew everybody. You know what I mean? And it's like we knew everybody that was involved around our neighborhood because they were our friends and cousins of friends. You know what I mean? So I witnessed it all. I seen everything. The shit I seen with my eyes, man, you would not believe. I could never tell it in just one interview, man. It's just too much.
Yeah.
But as far as the movie business now, I fell into the movie business, and this was my first. I don't know if you can see it. I produced this movie, Fight Valley. That was the first one. I did the executive. I put Holly Holm, Misha Tate, and Cyborg together to make their first fighter movie.
Wow.
That's because we wound up getting that's a whole nother story.
Now, Sal, you were in a movie I believe you produced and acted in, and Larry, you will know this too. With famous actor Chuck Zito. Chuck Zito was a New York native. He was with the Hells Angels. He was in Oz. You said you're friends with Chuck Zito, right?
Chuck Zito's in one of my movies called Guitars and Guns, but we didn't put it out yet. I got to do a voiceover. I'm going out to Vegas in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be out there for a whole month shooting another movie. But Chuck Zito, he came into my project. I called him and he, because he was in California. I said we wanted to get Carmen Electra. So I asked him if he could get me Carmen Electra. He says, where are you guys? And I told him where we were, and he says, I'm coming over there. I'll come over to hang out. I said, why don't you come into this project? He says, well, you want to pay me? I said, sure, why not? So I gave him my role, and I took a lesser role, and I put him in the movie. All right? I gave him my role that I was supposed to do, that I studied for months. And I said, go ahead, man. I told him, let him do it, and I'll take the other role of Quintara. But that was a good role, too, anyway. But then Chuck called Jake Busey and got Jake Busey to come in. So we got Chuck Zito and Jake Busey. That's Gary Busey's son.
Okay.
So now wait till you see this. Wait to see Chuck what we got him doing in this movie. It's fucking hilarious, man. I love Chuck.
Vinny Vella.
Man, that's my buddy.
There's some people that know Vinny Villa, and there's some people that don't know Vinny Villa. Vinny Villa was a big Scorsese actor. He had some key roles in Casino. He was in The Market. Now, is there any that stick out in your head? And God rest his soul, Vinny Villa is no longer with us. But when you were with Vinny Villa and you were running with Vinny Villa, is there any stories that stick out to you that you'd like to share?
You would have to put a dice. Right, Larry? Vinny,
Larry, you know who Vinny Villa is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If I tell you stories about Vinny Vella, you would have to put a diaper on because you're going to pee your friggin' pants.
Well, I'll tell you, Vinny made me piss my pants this morning when he texted me, Larry. He goes, I'm brushing up on Larry's book. I'm in the chapter where he's talking about the affair. He goes, I got to go take a cold shower.
Listen, I got the book. I got the book outside the shower. I got the cold water on me, and I'm reading your book. I had to stay in the shower to read that first chapter.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man! Swear to God.
How would you like to direct that scene?
Oh my God! Are you kidding me, man?
I'm gonna tell you something. You know what Nick Pileggi said? As serious as the book is, he says he sees some wildly romantic comedy. And it really, if you read on in the book, you'll see it. You'll see it.
Oh, I got a couple of chapters I'm in.
All right.
So I've been trying to read this book forever since you gave it to me. You gave me the book and signed it for me when I met you with Matthew Granahan. Remember, I came out to Miami. You were doing the at the pizza.
I was going to ask you about that. I didn't want to do it online. I just didn't. Yeah, that's right. That was my friend's pizza place. Yeah,
that was me. That was me.
Was I doing the speech that night?
Yeah, you were good. Yeah.
Okay. It was my book signing. Right. That's what. Put me in one of your movies. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, I could do it. Listen, we got a lot of shit we're working on. We got tons of, I got a lot of stuff. We got scripts that we haven't, I got movie scripts that are written that we haven't done yet, so there's always something coming up.
Yeah.
If you want to come out to Vegas.
You guys are neighbors down there in Florida.
Yeah, we're not. I never shot anything down here, but I shot a lot of my movies in Jersey, out in Runnymede, South Jersey. That's where I did, like, my friend, he's like my blood brother. Rob is the one that writes all these movies. Rob Hawk. So we've been together for 22 years already. Started from nothing, The first movie that I met him, JT says, I'm going to send you guys to meet this guy, Rob. He's doing a movie called Vusha Day. It's like a mob movie, and we became the best mob actors in Manhattan, in New York. When I met JT at that place I told you at Brunelli's, I met everybody I was going to be in the business with. JT was a talent agent. He just started, and I was his first actor. Me, Rocky, and everywhere he sent us on auditions, we went. He got me in American Gangster. He got me in Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. He got me in Maniac Cop. I did Maniac Cop. A bunch of shit. Wherever he sent us, we went. We became his number one guys that he would send on any lead that he could get as a talent agent. And then everybody came after us. Anybody that, once we started going, who else could you bring? Then we met Bartolo, and then we met this guy, and then that guy, and then everybody. Then we clicked together, and we became like a unit. And we were the best mob actors, and still to this day, they still using the same guys.
Yep.
We shot so many movies on Mulberry Street because Vinnie Vella was from Mulberry Street, right?
Right.
When I met Carmine and I had the TV show that I did with Carmine for 10 years called On the New York Circuit, Carmine introduced me to Vinnie Vella. Vinnie Vella used to do a show on Tuesday in Manhattan. Every Tuesday he would be in either this place or that place, and we go there. I didn't know Vinnie personally, but I went to see what, because Carmine said, come on, we're going to go see Vinnie perform. He's over here. He's doing a night at this restaurant. He's doing a night at that restaurant. So we went. But I didn't know Vinnie personally. I just went with Carmine. Then when we had the TV show, Carmine he said, we're going to have Vinnie on the show. Vinnie's coming on the show. I said, oh, that's great. The host never showed up. So he says, guess what, Sal? You're going to have to host and be the host with Vinnie Vella. I said, well, I can't do that. I'm the director here. He says, you're going to have to host this show because I got to be in the studio here, and somebody's got to be in the studio and somebody's got to be outside. So it had to be me. So I knew Vinnie from meeting him a couple of times, but I didn't know him personally. So I didn't know what I was going to ask. I was shaking like this. I swear, my whole body was shaking because I had to get up there and do this.
Unreal.
So when I first walks in, I look at Vinnie and I said, "Hey, Vinnie, how you doing?" And he says, "How are you?" So he had that little gun hanging from over here. You know that little gun that he had on his chain, right? So I looked at that and I said, "Okay, that's going to be my in right there." And my brain started working. So when it got time for us to go, and when we had to start the interview, he says, "Okay, you're on. Go, action." So now I said, "Hey, Vinnie, how you doing?" I said, "What's going on? What are you doing lately? What are you working on?" He says, "This and that." He was telling me about the movies. So I looked at him. I said, "Hey, not for nothing." I said, "That gun that's on your neck over there, that thing loaded?" You know what I mean? I said, "That's not going to go off and shoot me now." You know what I mean? So that's how. Yeah, you know what I mean? So he started laughing, and then we got loosened up. You know what I mean? So that was the beginning. I mean, I tell you, I got so many stories. Then Vinnie wound up becoming really, really good friends, man.
Look, I just got a text from our friend Matt. I told him I'd be on with you tonight, and he says, "Say hello to Sal for me."
Who's that? Who?
Matt Granahan.
Oh, Matt. Yeah. Matt's up.
I've got to go. He's doing a seminar for some local wrestlers. So I promised him I'd show up. So, Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you, if it's okay.
Yep.
To finish up.
Yeah.
And I look forward to our next event, next time we come on with another great guest like Sal. And, Sal, I look forward to meeting you again.
Definitely, man. We've got to get together and just,
Yeah, where are you in Florida? I mean, I don't want your exact address online, but where
Holiday. I'm over here in Holiday. But I know I was together with Eric. Eric is my buddy too. And I'm bringing Eric into this movie in Vegas. Eric. We met, we were at the beach. Remember, I think I met you. It was you and the cop, the guy that was the cop. And we were sitting at Whiskey Joe's, right? Yeah, Mike. That's right. I was there that day with Mike and you guys. We were sitting there having a chat right there, at Whiskey Joe's. Remember?
Well, let's get together. We'll do it for sure. Let's stay in touch.
Larry, I'll get you his number.
Yeah, please. All right, but I'm going to run. And thank you again. And I look forward to our next one, Scott. Let me know, okay?
Thanks, Larry.
All right, cool, man. Nice talk.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll do something.
Yeah, we'll talk for sure.
We got plenty of things to do. We'll figure something out.
Thank you.
There we go. So hanging out with Vinnie Vella, you said you're breaking his balls about the chain with the gun on it and stuff like that, and then what? You guys started hanging out, and was he in any movies at that time, like any major pictures, or was he just up and coming like you were?
Well, Vinny was already in Casino, Analyze This, Analyze That. He did those movies, and then he did The Irishman when we were friends, you know what I mean? And then Kill the Irishman was his last movie. But Vinnie Vella supported us. We supported him. We went to everything that Vinny did. Before I even met him, on the TV show that we had on M&N on the New York. It was called On the New York Circuit. But we even before that, so when we started doing the show, everybody was coming there and coming on the TV show because Carmine knew a million people too. Carmine knew everybody. I mean, everybody. And Vinny was just same way. So we said network together and help each other out. Vinny would support us and we would support him. Then Carmine passed away, right? He got cancer and we did the show up until the last day. He was dying of cancer. He went from a strong guy like me, built like a brick shit house, and he dwindled away into like nothing, man. It was sad, but I stayed with him till the last day, that he was alive, basically, and he's the one that really got me into the movie business. Carmine, I got to thank Carmine and Sandy for getting me involved into the movie business. Because it was him that introduced me to Vinny, and then I met all those other guys, and we became really good friends. Everybody's still close, believe it or not. Everybody that we came up with, and not for nothing, but we're losing a lot of guys passed away in the last couple of months, man. I can't believe how many guys that were with us from the beginning are gone now. We just lost another friend. Tom Kerrigan just passed away. My friend Joe Manuela, that looked just like Robert De Niro. It was his twin. He was with us too, So we had the best crew that could ever be gotten as far as getting mob guys to do, fill in parts for mob movies or anything. And then we started doing our own thing. We did a movie with Chris called Old Secrets and Old Lies. And I wound up casting Lucky Luciano's nephew was walking by where they have the feast right now. We were shooting inside Bella Ferrara and we needed extras. So this guy was walking up with his son. I said, "Hey, you want to be in a movie?" He said, "What are you doing?" Right? So, he was in camouflage. Right? I said, "We're shooting a movie in here." He says, "Oh, yeah?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Who are you?" He says, I'm Luciano." I said, "Luciano, like Lucky Luciano?" He said, "Yeah, it's my uncle." I said, "No shit." I said, "Chris, we got a live one here." So, I tell you, I met him and we hit it off too, man. It's fucking crazy. I hit it off with Luciano. Yeah, man, he was a great guy. He passed away too, not recently, but so he wound up coming into the project and becoming a major player in the project. He wound up shooting me with a machine gun. Me and my friend Rocky, we got blasted by him in the movie. We got all bloodied up. That's a great scene. I got to show you that one day. You'll die laughing. You won't believe it. You freak out because everything I'm telling you. When I show you this scene, you're gonna say, "Holy shit, Sal!" But he came into that project and changed everything, man.
As me talks now, that's my ultimate goal, man, in life. It always has been, and I've been deterred because I listen to the wrong people tell me, like, "Oh, that's stupid, that's stupid." And that's always been a dream of mine in the past, like, since I've been a late teenager. I always, that was something that I always wanted to get into was, being an extra in mob movies and, action movies, stuff like that. I really love movies. I love the whole history of the mob and stuff like that. And, the more I start thinking about it, like you said, like, most of the guys that were in the classic films are now passed on, God rest their souls, or most of the guys that are in the business, like, they're done. Like, like Joe Pesci said, his Irishman, that's it for him. He's done. Like De Niro, he's ready to retire. Like, I'm not saying he's never going to do a movie again, but like they're getting older and they don't want to do them no more. And there's so many mob movies yet to be made. You got to find actors. So I mean, I'm an hour and 30 minutes from New York City. It's not as far-fetched as everybody tells me. Don't follow my dream, and that's what I want to preach to the audience. Don't listen to what other people say. Like, this whole podcasting thing for me has been not more than a dream. Like, back in January, I was just a struggling salesman. I wasn't really making any money. I don't make any money off this podcast. But the reward of it is, number one, the stories told on these podcasts have been told through emails and inboxes on social media. They've really helped people out. And that's the goal of this, is for me to help people out. but I also love the reward of also the people I've been getting to meet and networking. Like 2 months ago, Sal, me and you linked up. We were on the phone a couple times for 2-3 hours when I used to drive tractor trailers, and we talked about everything from the Bronx to the movie business to everything. And that's better than any money that anybody can give you is people becoming friends and networking with people. And you know what? Who knows? One day my dream might come true, you know?
Yeah, hey, you know, if you want to take a ride out to Vegas, we need a guy that we got to bounce around in the script. we need a younger guy like about your age, you know, that can take a trashing around. I'm reading the script, and I told him, I said, I want to bring this other guy in. He says, is he young enough to take a beating? I mean, how many times, you know, I got killed off a few times in the movie, man. I like being the bad guy in the movie. You know, I was a bad guy a lot of times in the movie, man. I got my business. I got stabbed, shot.
Sal, every movie Joe Pesci was in, he got whacked. Casino, they buried him in the desert. Goodfellas, right. They took him out when he was going to get made. I think the only movie he survived in was My Cousin Vinny and fucking Home Alone.
That's true. I know Joe Pesci
died of old age, you know.
Yeah. I learned from a baby, you know. So, but I just got my own way of cooking, and from what I learned and what I learned from my growing up and what I learned on my own.
So and we talked about a while back. We talked a while back.
Well, because
we talked a while back about you said that you were friends with Frank Lucas Jr., who Denzel played in American Gangster, Frank Lucas Sr. Did you guys get linked up through that movie?
I let him. He did his music video in my house in Pelham.
But how did you get linked up with him prior to that? Was it through the movie?
No, I never. No, I linked up him. JT told me that Frank Lucas wants to rent your house. He wants to rent your house to do a music video because JT knew I had a beautiful big, you know, I had a mini mansion that I built myself. You know, I had the full Gotti. I called my house the full Gotti. It was white, big monster house. You can look it up. 1470 Roosevelt Avenue, Pelham Manor. You look at my house, you say, holy shit, I built that out of my head, man. I designed it and everything. I told everybody what to do every day. And we put that monster house up. It turned out, this house, we're doing all these movies. Guess what? Let's go shoot at my house. And we did. I shot there. Every time my wife came home, there was shit all over the place. Well, you know, on a movie set, you know what it looks like. You got trailers and cars and equipment everywhere, spread out on the lawn, in the garage, on the floor, upstairs, and set up cameras. My neighbors freaked out, man. My neighbors didn't know what to think of me, man. You know, because I owned a lot of properties that I built, and I was collecting rent, so I really didn't have to work. I worked when I want to work, you know what I mean? I worked for myself, so I was home all the time, playing my drums, blasting the music, singing, shooting movies at my house. You know, it was crazy, man. So Frank Lucas, we wound up having his father came in to be in the music video, right? So we had Frank Lucas's father at one side of the table, had a big washed oak dining room set, beautiful, $10,000 dining room set, beautiful. But he was at one side and we were at the other side, and we were arguing about how much percentage we were going to let his son take that we were going to give him to get him into the music business. So we were going back and forth arguing. And then he slams his hand down on the table, says, God damn it, I'll put one in your fucking face. So everybody just froze because we had lived a lot of this shit. So he just slammed his hand down and we just looked at each other and everybody started fucking laughing. They had a cut. They had to say cut. And then we fucking, oh my God, that shit was crazy. But he was there at my house. So Frank Lucas he's still my friend, and he wants to come into a project. He's trying to do something with me right now too. But I got to figure out what I'm going to do with him. And I hooked him up with this guy, Smiley, because Smiley's a writer and he does music and stuff. And that's where Frank is. He's into music more than movies. But, I could get him in, but it's got to be the right project. Like, you know what I mean? I can't just put him in anything because I want to put him in, but I got to have something right for him. So we got to develop it, I got to develop something that's going to work for him because I don't want to waste his time and make him look bad either. Anything that I want to do with him it's got to be really, it's got to be good. He's got to fit in. You know what I mean? You can't just cast people because you want to cast people. They got to fit into the role. You got to be for the role because otherwise it could hurt movie. So you got to be casted right because you don't want to look bad yourself either. Try to do something that doesn't fit you. It's like trying to put on a shoe that don't fit. Yeah,
it's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. It's a business, and people are putting their money up too. Like it's costing money, so you gotta make sure what you're doing is going to be. It can't be good. It's got to be great. You know what I mean? I like to do stuff that's great, not good. So that's why all our movies are high-end independent films, and they're all getting picked up. The ones I did before, the ones that I did on my own, the ones I did, unless they were big productions, and I worked with Michael Madsen, I worked with so many people, Jim Belushi. I worked with a lot of guys, man. I worked with a lot of people that we met along the way, just getting into projects. My friend Anthony has 25 collector cars, what do you call it, classics. So, and I had some cars too. So we use the cars to get into a lot of productions. You get the car in the movie, you're in the movie with it. And then the people that are shooting the movie. So you're going to get a role in the movie too, saying something or doing something, not only driving the car. It all depends, man. It depends. It all depends on what you're doing. So, if you get in, you gotta focus and you gotta really want it and you gotta really make it happen, So if you get an opportunity, but you gotta remember one thing, if you do get an opportunity to get into a project, you gotta commit yourself. You gotta be committed to it. You can't say, I got a headache, I can't come in today. You know what I mean? Or you can't show up the next day. Shooting a movie, you're working 15 hours a day, 17 hours a day for a week at a time, maybe a week, 2 weeks. It starts to wear you out, man. And you got to be on your game, too. You got to, it's a lot of hurry up and wait, sitting around waiting for, studying your script, walking around in circles, going in the corner over there, saying your lines. I'm going to be doing that again in a couple of weeks. I'm doing it right now, sitting on this chair. It reads my line. It reads the page. So my phone reads the page. So that chapter is reading it. And I'm looking at it, and I'm saying it. Now, I'll listen to it, I'll read it, and then I'll start to go into character, say my lines. Once you got to get familiar with it. You got to listen like a great song. You hear a great song, you say, I love that friggin' song, and you play it 100 times till you know the words to it. Till you're singing it, and you know all the words. The same thing as shooting a movie. You got to know that script the same as you know a song that you love. You got to be that. You got to be that focused, because if you get on a big set in Hollywood, and the worst thing that you could ever want to do is get in anybody's production and then not have studied your lines, and then not be ready when they say action. You got to be familiar with all your emotions. There's 50 emotions that you got to study. If you Google emotions. And then you'll see the list. Comes up a list. It says that's when I went to acting school. That's what they taught. That's what he taught me, right? I'm getting messages. Yeah. So you study your emotions. You look in the mirror. You got to be believable. You know what I mean? If you're not believable, like when you watch a movie and say this sucks, this guy sucks. He can't act for shit. You get annoyed, because they're horrible. You know what I mean? You don't want to be that guy. And you don't want to be in a movie and not know your lines when they say action. You got to know without looking at the page. You can't be like this, looking at, wait, hold on a second. Let me look. You got to know it. It's got to flow, you know. So I took. Yeah, it's right. You got to get it down right, and you got to learn it. Like learn that poem, like the Little Rascals. Learn that poem. Learn that poem. See, right now I'm studying my lines. I'll be playing that shit all night until and when I'm on set, you got to refresh yourself. You know, you got to just when they're shooting somebody else's scenes, you got to be working your lines out. If I'm doing a scene with you, we're gonna go in the corner and we're gonna go back and forth and do our lines together. You know. Like I say this, and then you got to say that, and then you know what I mean. You say your stuff, and then I got to be right there with the reaction. For every action is a reaction, right? There's a lot to do. I mean, you start out small, and you work your way up. You got to learn somehow. You know what I mean? So you got to get into small things, and just watch and learn and see. Like you know, like when I get on the movie set, when I worked with Michael Madsen, and I watched him do some scenes. And I'm like, holy shit, man. After hanging out with him and laughing and goofing around and smoking a bone, you know what I mean? And hanging out, then when we came to when we had to get on set and do our stuff, I'm watching him play dead and I'm watching him do his shit. And I'm like, wow, man. You know, but it's so professional, you know what I mean? And that's how I do it. You know what I mean? I got to do the same thing. Like,
Project Real with Michael Madsen.
Michael Madsen, I love to work with him again, man. He's a trip. I love that guy.
What project were you on with him?
The what?
What project were you on with him?
Oh, what was that? I got it was a mob movie. Oh, was the Wannabes? Wait, I was in the Wannabes. Not Wannabes, the Wannabes. The Wannabes. I got to look it up, man. I forget. It's been a while. I got to remember that one. Actually, Anthony, I got to remember what the I can't remember. We did so many friggin' movies, man. We went to every audition, man. I stood online for a day. We stood online. It's called the cattle call. You go for an audition, they got 1,000 people want the same role that you're trying for. And you got to go in there and you got to audition. They're going to say, okay, read this. And you got to read, you know, you got to read. They're going to give you a page and say, all right, they're going to call you and this is what you got to read. So be ready. When they call you in, okay, go ahead, do your thing. So, or to say, give me a synopsis, you know, of why you got into the movie business. We want to see how you give me a synopsis. Say something. You know, talk about yourself. Give me a synopsis. Or they'll give you lines to read, and they judge you, and they see if you're fit for the role, you know? Or to give you lines. All right, we're shooting for this role. We need a mob guy that could act like this and say that and say this. Say these 3 lines, and then you got to do that. And then they'll see how you perform that, you know? Yeah. And if you get picked, you get picked. A lot of times they said, okay, like I went in there all suited up one day. He says, okay, save that suit. You're in, all right? And then I wound up, then they didn't call me. I'm like, what happened? You know, I thought I was in. He said, we recasted somebody else. I said, oh, well, I don't know why, but I thought I had it, and I didn't. See, Vinnie Vella taught me one thing. He said, when you go for an audition, he said, go in there, no small talk, right? This is what Vinnie Vella taught me. No small talk. Go in there. Stand here, say this, say that. Okay, thank you.
Sal, could you repeat that? Your phone cut out. Repeat what Vinnie Vella said, because it cut out.
All right, I said when Vinnie Vella used to tell me about how to get when you go for an audition, how to get picked and not blow your audition. You know, because I used to talk to Vinny a lot. We were very good friends. He wanted me to make it so bad. He said, Sal, you're going to be famous one day. And don't forget me. He said, don't forget me when you go to Hollywood. He used to tell me, don't forget me when you go to Hollywood. You know, and he was kidding with me. You know, I mean, he loved me. He wanted to see me make it so bad, all of us. But we were very close, you know, because of Carmine and the way I met him. And I used to drive him everywhere. he came with me in my car. I drove Vinny back and forth. Well, along with a few other people, but Vinny was always with me on my right side. You know what I mean?
So
he was with me. I took him to the show.
He said no small talk and what else?
All right, this is what he used to say. When you go to an audition, you get your page. They're going to say, okay, study this line, study this. You got 50 other people over there saying the same thing, right? But when you get in there and you go in the room, they'll tell you, stand here. They got the camera set up. Okay, shoot. And then you got to say, you there?
Yeah.
Did I cut out?
No, you're good.
I don't know. This phone, I got to keep hitting the button. It keeps shutting off. I don't know why, but you there? You hear me?
Yeah. Yep, you're good.
All right. So he used to say, you go in there. When they say, okay, action, say your line, do whatever you got to say your thing, do it to the best of you can. And then when you're done, that's it. Okay, we got it. Thank you. Thank you. And just walk out and say thank you and leave. Don't try to say anything. Don't try to make small talk. Don't try to say, just go do what you got to do. Do it to the best of your ability and say thank you. Thank you. And then walk out the door. I'll never forget that. Vinny told me that's very important.
Sal, so you got that new movie coming out with Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. That's coming out soon, isn't it?
Yeah, Call to Duty. We got an Arnold Schwarzenegger son, Joe Buena. Joe Buena. I always screw up his last name. Joe Buena. Right, Joseph Buena. When I say Joseph Buena, it sounds better. Yeah, Joseph Buena. We put him in his first action movie. Rob casted him. I don't know how he did it, but Rob is amazing. The one that my friend that does Fight, that wrote Fight Valley. Cold. He wrote Cold. What's that?
What's the name of the movie going to be?
Call to Duty.
Okay.
The original name was Wing Girls, but we changed it when he came in because Wing Girls just, it'll be too much focus just on the girls. So he didn't want to do that. He wanted to make it where we could do a sequel, and being that he's in there, so we're just gonna change it. So he came up with the name Call to Duty. No, it's changed to that now, but it's still the same movie, and he did really good. I seen exactly. He showed. Rob sent me the shot of how he blended him into the movie. So he did a really good job. This is his first action movie. So now Schwarzenegger, I never met Schwarzenegger. I never met Sylvester Stallone, but a lot of my friends worked with them, but I never met them. I'd love to meet Sly, and I'd love to meet, Schwarzenegger, and it looks like it's going to happen because not only they're very good friends with Chuck, you know what I mean? That puts me in a good way because they know that I know Chuck. Not that it's going to make a difference, but it brings you into the clique, like, you know what I mean? It's hard to get in. It's like a certain hurdle you got to get over. To get into the big game, you got to get it. You got to get to that. You got to get to the top of that mountain. You know what I mean? You're climbing. You're meeting people. You got to stay with it. You can't quit. Because, out of sight, out of mind. You got to stay in the business and stay and keep doing stuff. The moment you stop getting in and getting yourself into projects, that's the minute they forget about you. The more you stay in, the more you keep going to auditions, you never know. You could go to audition and become the next biggest Hollywood star. It happens so fast that you won't even believe it. Or it could take forever. You know what I mean? It's either or. You never know. It depends on what movie you're in, what line you have, who you're working with, and how you bring it across and how you bring yourself across. It's a lot of you got to train, you got to learn, like the same as you're doing the podcast. I never did a podcast. I wouldn't even know where to start what you're doing there. You know what I mean? I know my business. I know what I got to do to study to get a role, but I don't know how to do it. I never did a podcast, but I did a TV show, You know, it's almost the same thing. But podcasts and these YouTube channels changing everything. You know, you can take what I know. You could take this podcast and you could get a YouTube channel and put your show on YouTube. And every time you do a show, you load it into your YouTube channel. And then if you get 10,000 people watching, subscribing to your YouTube channel, you'll start getting paid for your podcast. If your podcast, people like your podcast and they want to see what you got coming next, and you put up a YouTube channel, you do it on YouTube, they're gonna tune in, you know. And every time they tune in, like when there's this guy, a cooking guy, a guy who cooks in Azerbaijan, right? I was watching him on YouTube because I just stumbled onto it. And I said, "Oh shit! Look, cooking in the wilderness." And I'm watching this guy. I'm watching him. I watched him about 50 times in 50, different times. Then Rob told me, he says, that guy's got millions of views. He's making about $20,000 a month, every month for the rest of his life. That money doesn't stop. So that's why I started up my cooking channel. But I gotta try. I got to get more. I got to get it set up better. This little shit kitchen I got over here is not what I want to be showing people. I used to have a $200,000 kitchen. Right now, I got a camper kitchen. You know what I mean? I don't want to set cameras up in here. I want to do it the right way. When I get out of here and I get my setup the right way, a beautiful kitchen, nice, like the way I used to have it. My house was beautiful, man. Man, you have no idea. You got to Google my house one day. Look at my house in Pelham Manor. And you just think about, look at the kitchen and look at the way I built that house. And just think of that house full of cameras. Had cameras in every corner. We shot in there. There was cameras all over the place and screens and this and that. Real movie production. It was perfect for that because it was gigantic. I had wide open space. You know what I mean? And my kitchen was gigantic. It was the size of this whole camper. This whole trailer was my kitchen. My kitchen took up half of the back of the house. And then outside I had a brick oven. I had a 40-foot patio, a brick oven. And we used to smoke pigs in the back. When I had premieres at my house, it was 200 people there. 220 people. We had some freaking parties. Bands and cops would come. The cops would come and hang out because I always had so many interesting people there that they were like, oh, shit. Brandon Jacobs from the Giants, Dwayne Hendricks, Vinny Vella, whoever was, Vinny Vella's been to my parties. I mean, everybody came to my party. Everybody. Sal's having a party. We're there. You miss my party, I put it out there. Be there or be square. And bring your own booze. You know what I mean? Be there or be square. Everybody, all my boy, everybody that I worked with in the business, whoever wants to come. We're here. You know what I mean? Even if it was a movie premiere, and then I put the big screen up and we would show the movie. So now I got the movie, I got the sound system outside, you know what I mean? And I got the big screen on the outside on the patio deck, and we're showing the movie, smoking a pig, making pizzas, eating Spanish. We had Spanish food, every freaking kind of food you could imagine. Marky clams used to come by, bushels of clams, lobsters. Holy shit! Had coolers filled with sodas and beers and everything you could imagine. Yeah, man, I did it, boy. We did it strong. We did it. We really did it. We did a good. We made ourselves. We made it happen. We started with nothing with JT, and we made it happen. We became a crew, like the movie crew. You know what I mean? And Vinny was part of it, and everybody we were involved with. Man, it's just. I wound up being friends with Joe Tornatore. He was in The Sting. I got to meet Joe Tornatore, and he came stayed at my house for 4 months. And then I passed him off to my friend Rob that wrote this movie here, Five Valley. And he wound up staying with Rob for 4 or 5 months. And my friend Debbie had him for 6 months, 7 months. He was staying with Debbie while he was working with us and teaching us the business. he taught Rob had to polished Rob up on his editing. Joe Tornatore was in the Sting. He was the one that saved. Can you hear me?
Now I could. Your phone duration went out.
Oh, this phone's a piece of shit. I got to keep hitting the button. I got to keep hitting it. It keeps shutting off.
That's okay.
Is it?
Sal, we're just about out of time for today. I want to thank you for coming out. I want to stay in touch with you, and we maybe do a part 2 down the road.
Yeah, we can do another one. Well, listen, if you think you can get away, if you want to come out to Vegas. If you want to come out to Vegas for a couple of days and do this role, maybe I could squeeze you in.
Are they gonna send me back in a box?
Maybe 2 boxes.
When are you doing it?
We're shooting it. We're starting October. He's going to start like the first week in October, but I don't have to be out there till the second week. But if I can, I'm ready to go right now, but I'll wait till the second week, this way I can get this place closed up, right? And then I'll be out there for basically the whole month. We got places to stay. It's not like you have to pay for anywhere to stay. We have rooms. We have he's Airbnb in a couple of houses. The houses that we're going to shoot in are where we're going to stay also. So he's Airbnb in a few houses for everybody to stay in.
Definitely. I'm definitely gonna. I'm probably gonna take up on that offer, and we'll talk about that via cell phone because I don't want to leak out too much information over the podcast. But, I definitely want to talk to you about that in the next couple of days.
Yeah, you call me on the regular phone, and I'll call Simeon. And you can talk to him yourself and see, and he'll, we'll kick it up, we'll kick it around, see if you're good for if you're good for the role, if you want, I think you should be. You're young enough. How old are you? Not
37.
Ah, perfect. That's good. Yeah, he's got a role. He's got a role that he's got to fill. That one of the guys and one of the mob guys is, he gets knocked around a little bit. But that's
you gotta start somewhere, man.
You're not gonna really get hit, you know what I mean? It's all fake. But in the movie, you know what I mean? In the scene, that's your scene. You're doing some shady shit with us, and you're gonna get beat up. So it's a good way to break in. Look, it's a good role to break into the business. Plus, it's a SAG movie. You'll get your first waiver.
Is it a movie? Is it a mob movie?
Yeah, it's sort of like a mob. It's sort of like a mob movie, but you need 3 waivers to get your union card. You need 3 waivers. So if you come into the movie, you'll get a waiver. You'll get your first waiver.
Yeah, they were saying that. I was talking to you and another guy, and you guys both told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's keep in touch with that, and let's we'll keep in touch, and I want to thank you for coming out tonight, and we'll link up soon and go from there. And I hope everybody enjoyed this segment tonight, and we're gonna keep pumping out this inspiring content for our viewers.
Great.